1 mile high. John Doe.
JDR News Live.
The human brain is made for thinking, not pubic experience. It's hardly a tinker toy or experimenting. Stop fuming with drugs.
Why do we talk about marijuana? It's the single biggest drug that is a source of some confusion.
This is really about educating the public about the fact that marijuana is a less harmful drug.
Marijuana, that's to get high.
You can be as high as you want.
The prohibition of marijuana over the last 71 years has not actually prevented you from using marijuana.
You feel weak.
Close to winning the war on drugs.
I do believe there have been some successes.
We will never arrest our way out of this problem.
Welcome to JDR News Live Daily. I'm your host, John Doe, a.k.a. Tim Martin. Thank you very much for hanging out with us this evening. It's a beautiful Friday here in the Mile High. A little bit chilly, snowing a little bit outside. It's beautiful, though. Last time it snowed, it's like super, super duper windy. Just absolutely blizzard-like conditions. And now, it's just beautiful. Fantastic outside. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with us. Like I said, Monday through Friday here, youtube.com/John Doe Radio/live. You can hang out with us and enjoy the news of the day. We'll get to that here in a second. Big thanks to those who make the JDR possible. Could not do it without you, especially the JDR Army and our sponsors. Make sure you check out weedbiz.net, weedbiz.net. Our friends over there also have to offer this awesome grow pod that you can grow with. It's up to you what you want to put into it. Grow with it. Whatever would maximize your dollars when it comes down to it. They'll take care of you. Weedbiz.net. Also got some awesome news from the South over there on that dang old site. Yourgraphics.com if you need to get a brand new website designed like ours. JohnDoeRad.io, where you can hear all the recorded versions of the John Doe Radio Show. Everything we've done, including the ones with Bike Holly, who, as soon as we get another studio situation figured out, that Mamma Jamma will be back with us. And do not forget our good friends over at USACannabisConsulting.com, USACannabisConsulting.com. If you need to navigate yourself through or need help navigating through, you really should talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about when it comes to the cannabis industry and navigating through it. They can help you out. One-stop shop, all-inclusive. Tell them the John Doe Radio Show sent you. Our good friends over there, specifically Kyle Allen, will help take care of you. Get you to the right people. Get the things that you need taken care of. And if you need something built out, if you need a dispensary front built out, you need a lab built out, an extraction room, they can take care of you. USACannabisConsulting.com, our good friends over there. Today, let's see here. Let me pull this up real fast. Crazy day of news. I got a lot of news stories for you today. Oh, almost forgot the intro we got to get to. We got to jam to this for a second. Hold on. Come on.
You're now listening to Billet Beats.
You got to up the energy level. Energy level's low right now. I can just feel it. I was like, dude, man, where's the energy? Where's the fun? Where's the stoniness today? You said yesterday it was going to be an absolute stony show. All right, fine. Make it a stony show. Alaska going to probably allow on-site use of cannabis clubs. That coming right off the top. Senate Minority Leader signs onto a bill that would allow industry access to banking. Cannabis business startups, what some people are doing to help the industry get on top, or rather, more than likely, line their pockets. Arizona and cannabis DUIs, cannabis use in D.C., and the state of Oregon being a bunch of Grinches rejecting holiday donations from a cannabis group. Ah, how dare they. This happened here before, though. I've had friends who have tried to donate to schools, to shelters, food banks, and if cannabis anywhere attached to anything with it, a lot of them in the past, it's probably changed a little bit here recently, but have said, no, thank you. We're not going to take your hand out. You got devil's weed on your side. which is kind of ridiculous, but I'm sure there's somebody out there that'll take somebody's handout in good times, use them for good times, especially during the holiday season. Let's get to our first story here. If we do have a chance, which we'll probably come to it on Monday, we've been mentioning it quite a bit this week about the American Medical Association and some of the things that they're trying to put forward. Number one, I don't think I mentioned it before. One of the things that they're trying to do, all on top of the news story we covered a few days ago, of them putting wherever you buy cannabis, whether it's medical or recreational, that there are pregnancy risks to smoking cannabis and all this other stuff. And then also, on the other hand, something good that we all can probably enjoy the American Medical Association doing, especially like when you're watching The Price is Right or some shiz like that. You're like watching Plinko come down, and then the next commercial you see is some commercial for a pill that explains to you that you might get explosive diarrhea and die from it. Drug commercials they're trying to outlaw. And the reason why they're trying to outlaw drug commercials is because they're saying that the drug commercials create an unfair advantage and overpricing and an unequal balance to the force, so to speak. So basically, those drug pills, because they're the popular quote-unquote names and because they get put on TV, they're being sold for more money, and the American Medical Association saying that that's kind of ridiculous. Which, by the way, they have huge weight in passing regulations. And when they try and go after something, which is why they've placed both of these things on their official agenda, is because when they actually have something on their official agenda and go forward with it and lobby for it, it's a huge lobbying effort. It's probably going to happen if it gets put on their agenda. But anyway, the consuming marijuana during pregnancy, a couple of news stories that we've talked about, how they're trying to pass regulation for that, tell you that, it's not good, which, as I've explained before, I can understand why they would want to do that. There's an article in Forbes and a few other places, and even since this has popped up online, plenty of women weighing in here on the topic and how ingestion of edibles and sometimes maybe oil may have helped them through the process. I don't know. It's kind of a touchy subject for a dude to talk about, and especially someone who has not experienced someone going through a pregnancy. Anyway, consuming marijuana during pregnancy does not make a mother unfit. I have a couple news stories, a couple things I want to get to that, but that'll probably come on Monday. To Alaska, though, which is huge, fantastic, awesome news. The Alaska Marijuana Control Board votes to allow marijuana bars in retail outlets. Kind of a misleading headline to a news article because it's not exactly having quote-unquote bars, but that's the closest thing that they could think of to comparing it to. And something we've been fighting here in Colorado to get for quite a while now. Specifically here in Denver, not allowing people to open up cannabis bars and cannabis clubs, and having Chris Jetter and this not even go to court, but the city dropping the case of Chris Jetter and the POTUS Club here in Denver, former guest that we've had here on the show, and charging them with operating an illegal cannabis operation, basically, and allowing people to smoke indoors, allowing people to get together and smoke. But the state or the city dropped the case, said that no, we're not going to go after it. And as we talked about before, we would have been voting on allowing this type of use, social use, limited social use, this past November election here in Denver, if it weren't for the case that the people who put it on the ballot were going to meet the city in the middle and try and get these situations hammered out and try and get these clubs taken care of and rules for them put into place, just in case, something were to get out of control, where a rule that, which I can understand, a lot of businesses would be afraid that if we were to put in this rule by vote, that it would be a blanket over every bar and restaurant in the city, that if you're in Denver And Denver passed this rule that allowed social use that you would have to figure out how to implement this into your business one way or another. And I can understand how they were afraid of that. That caused mass rioting, and we decided to not put it on the ballot. Not so much rioting. But Alaska's seeing what's happening here and happening what's in other states and seeing the issue. And especially, think about it with Alaska. Social get-together is probably a pretty big thing still. To you and your boys getting together, you and your crew, having a session may not be such a big thing. You may live down the street from one another. It may take you 5 minutes. In Alaska, you may have to fly a plane to go hang out with another dude. It's just that way. Marijuana Control Board voted to allow for consumption of marijuana retail stores across the state, which, if approved by Lieutenant Governor Byron Mallett, would make Alaska the first state to allow a regulated area for marijuana consumption outside of a person's house or other private spaces. The change allows for people to buy marijuana at a retail store and consume it in a designated area on the premises. The board voted 3-2 in favor of the amendment, with Lauren Jones, Public Health Board member, and Peter Milnerick, Public Safety Board member, dissenting, voting no. Regulations will go to the Department of Law for a formal review before heading to the governor's desk. The amendment functions as a placeholder. Hold on here. Specifics as to what these establishments will look like will be decided at a later date. So basically just passing legalization, kind of like what we did here in Colorado. The passing legalization and then the state implementing laws to outline what that would look like. Same type of situation here in the public use and on-site, on-premises use. They would okay it, and then the state would come in and make decisions of how that was going to be implemented and what it would look like. Local bans banning indoor smoking still apply. It's also a major shift from the board's former policy position and comes after heated public debate surrounding sanctioning spaces for marijuana use. Spaces. However, marijuana social clubs, where someone brings in their own marijuana products to consume, is still considered illegal, the board said. That could change. In Alaska, several social clubs focused on marijuana consumption opened after legalization in response to the question of where one might go to consume marijuana, but the clubs were deemed to fall under the definition of a public space, and since public consumption is illegal, so were the clubs, the state argued. The clubs maintained that they were acting legally. Then in August, the Marijuana Control Board rolled out proposed regulations that would explicitly ban the clubs. The decision was met with a wave of negative public comments, including a brief demonstration by social club supporters during the board meeting. It doesn't say exactly, but I just picture that their demonstration involved rolling up some big fat doobies, like maybe some ouncers or a pounder, quarter pounder or something, lighting that cheeseburger on fire and toking it in front of everybody. Dang all getting down like the Wild Wild West days. Because that's how we dang all get her done here in Colorado. And I tell you, it works. It can work for you. I'm just kidding. I don't think anybody's ever lit up in a public meeting here in Colorado that I specifically know of. Been a few drunk people that have smoked up during these public meetings. Which, yeah, during the day, late afternoon, day drinking. Not me. It's not me. I see you there. Eyeballing me. Board has argued that it didn't have the power to create an additional license type, as only 4 license types, retail, cultivation, manufacturing, and testing facilities, were specified under Alaska's legalization initiative. The proposed amendment sidesteps the argument by creating a space to consume marijuana under the auspices of a retail license. It would also exclude the retailers from the definition of public space. With the passage of the vote, Alaska is bucking the trend that is far held steady in other states that have legalized recreational use, where there are no state-sanctioned places to consume. For example, tourists trying to come into the state and a hotel not letting them use, or you're not allowed to use it in public spaces, and they're not really allowing clubs in some areas to use. So it does create an issue, and if we're going to do this, why not do it right? Makes sense. With the passage of the vote, Alaska is bucking a trend, like we said, at other states like us. Legislation that was passed in July in Washington also banned clubs. In Colorado, local government's taking a crack at the rules that would allow for clubs. The state doesn't monitor or license spaces for consumption. And in Oregon, social clubs are neither expressly permitted nor banned. So, an interesting topic. It's something that obviously on the forefront of tourism, especially. And I think here in Colorado, it's going to become a bigger and bigger issue. We have a brand new tourism board head here in Colorado. And before the tourism board has taken this huge issue of like, Colorado is just a fantastically beautiful state. And the reason why 1 million people are moving here is just because everybody found out at once that it was a fantastically beautiful state. Although be it true, and it's fantastic and a great excuse to use, it's kind of hard to deny that the people coming here to Colorado, a good majority of them are coming here because of legalization. And to completely deny that is just pretty ridiculous. This new incoming tourism board head has talked about how that's the first thing. I forget where he's coming from and what he did before this, but either way, when he mentioned to people that he knew that he had taken on a new job in Colorado, one of the first things that they mentioned was legalization here in Colorado. Every single person that he had talked to, so obviously it's hit him that this is a big issue here in Colorado and that it's going to be talked about more, which is a good thing. I think at this point in time, for the people that are worried about control and they're worried about things exploding and getting out of hand here in Colorado, I think the best thing that we can do is, just like a bad trip, just like a bad high. So all you got to do is just relax yourself back into it and just let it happen. The opposite of, never mind, I'm not going to go there. That would have been horrible to say. Sit back, relax, do the best that we can to make smart laws and laws that govern this system in a way that's not going to shove it to the black market, in a way that's not going to make it harder on people to express their rights, and harder on people if they were to get busted by the law. That's not what we're trying to do. That's the exact opposite of what we're trying to do. And we're not trying to let it get out of hand. We're not trying to have a free-for-all and everybody grow as much as you want and smoking everywhere all the time. No, that's not the case. Even though some of us would enjoy that type of situation and it would push for that type of situation, it's just not realistic. It's not something that's going to happen anywhere in the United States. I've never been to Jamaica. Maybe a lot of you coming back from Jamaica for the High Times Cannabis Cup would say that it's a little bit different there. But it's just not something that's going to happen here in Colorado. We have too many conservative people, and not to mention, it makes sense, Just like cigarette smoke, I don't enjoy, even though I still smoke cigarettes, still have a couple of cigarettes a day. I know, it's an absolutely ridiculous habit. Horrible. Shame on me. I don't want to go to a restaurant, and I don't want to smell somebody's cigarette smoke, and I can understand how somebody that doesn't smoke weed wouldn't want to smell marijuana smoke. Even though we think it smells beautiful, I got people, all the time telling me that they don't enjoy the smell of it. And, you have concentrates that smell a little bit different than weed, but the bottom line is, and I digress, ultimately saying that we got to meet him in the middle. It's something that we're going to have to deal with through this entire process, and it's never going to go away. There's not a situation here in America where something is unregulated in some form or another. It's just not going to happen, and we're especially not going to go from a drug being completely federally legal, a Schedule I substance, something that's just absolutely been lied about. Maybe that's the one saving grace about cannabis on the federal level, is that they've lied so heavily about it and tried to feed you so much bullshit, comparing it with the toxicity of other drugs and other things around us, including pollution, and comparing it to reality. That's the saving grace of what's helping move this forward more and more. So people are like, finally, you know what? I knew they've been lying for a long time. It's finally something I can admit. It's finally something I can be comfortable with and settle in with. Fine. Marijuana's not that bad. Even those type of people, we're winning the war with. Hopefully that made sense. Made sense to me. All right. That Alaska story is exciting. I enjoy that. I enjoy that. Another big issue that we're having, obviously, here is the banking issue. We've mentioned it before on how Colorado's tried to create a credit union, put together all the dispensaries, and form their own banking industry so that we're not doing things on a cash-only level. As we said before, stories that I've even seen it. I mean, this has happened daily at the Marijuana Enforcement Division, their front desk. They've got a money counter at the front desk. They drop a couple stacks in that money counter, counts it, spits it out. One dude even gave, right in front of me, gave the lady at the desk that was counting the money, collected the money for his license, like $1,500 extra dollars. What? Is this right? Double check it. Yep, triple checked it. Sir, I think he gave me $1,500 too much. And everybody and their mother is access to this place. I mean, you just walk through front doors, up an elevator, a floor, and through the front doors of the Marijuana Enforcement Division, and boom. Even hearing stories of people paying $40,000 in taxes, having to do it in cash because they can't go to the bank, get a cashier's check, do whatever they need to not bring in a duffel bag of $40,000, plop it on the front desk of the Marijuana Enforcement Division, have them run it through their money counters for like 20 minutes, or however long it takes to count $40,000. I've never had $40,000, so I wouldn't know how long it takes to count. I'm sure with the cash machine, it's not too difficult. Figure it would be quick, swiftness with the quickness. But either way, still being fought out, the credit union type situation there. It's going to appeals court. They've denied it once, and basically what they've denied, the feds have denied, is that allowing us access to a federal routing number, basically, is what it is. The credit union needs a federal routing number, and feds won't give it to them. We've talked about it before. You should remember this. You should know this. The top Democrat in the Senate is getting behind an effort to allow financial transactions for the marijuana in states where the drug is legal. Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid this week signed onto a bill that would provide marijuana businesses with the access to the banking system. Marijuana Business Access to Banking Act, introduced by Senator Jeff Merkley from Oregon, would give marijuana businesses in states where it has been legalized a place to store their money. However, it would not impact marijuana dealers in states where the pot is still illegal. I made them seem even more jackass hattery than they are. By the way, the headline to this article, which is from thehill.com, one of those political pundit, I forget what the exact word is that you would call political people that, anyway, specifically a website for people that are looking what's going on in Washington, D.C. and bills and all that other stuff that's going on. The headline is, which is ultimately the important thing in this long roundabout story I'm getting to about the story, Reid backs bill giving legal marijuana dealers access to U.S. banks. If that's not a misleading, I'll shit on you article. Headline, I don't know what is. Federal government still prohibits use of marijuana, though 23 states in Washington, D.C. have legalized it. The inconsistency in marijuana laws has created headaches for many pot dealers, none more notable than the banking issue. It's like so savage, not giving a fuck. I'm going to attack you straight at your knees. I don't think that there's a lot of things that you could probably call dispensary owners. It's so funny, I'm almost tearing up, crying out of laughter here. But probably one of the worst things that you can call one of these people that own these dispensaries is a pot dealer. I'm just flat out, the Hill blog calling you a pot dealer. I mean, that's a kick to the gut. It's cojones, drop her right there. Hey, man, what you gotta do that? Calm down. Federal government still prohibits use. We already said that. That was where the pot dealer punched the cojones game. Currently, many banks do not accept money from legal marijuana dealers because of the threat that the federal government will shut them down. The bill, which began in July, is being pushed by 8 Democrats and 1 Republican. It would take away that barrier, giving legal marijuana businesses access to the banking system. Oh, man. But the legislation so far has seen no action in the Senate. I felt like Rick there from Rick and Morty with honestly just burped. Because before the JDR started today, man, I stuffed my face with some awesome Colorado Mexican food. I say Colorado Mexican food because so many people coming into this state bitch about how the Mexican food here in Colorado is not real Mexican food, which, I don't know, maybe I haven't been to many states, which is probably true. Maybe I haven't seen a lot of Mexican food places like New Mexico or Mexico. I have been to Mexico before. Puerto Vallarta. And then Juarez. So I think I have a little bit of something to say. I am a hometown fan of Colorado, which makes a lot of sense that I would defend the Colorado Mexican food. But so many people bitch about it. And so many people do bitch about the food here in Colorado. And when I traveled to other places like Omaha, Portland, they had fantastic food. Serving sizes that were amazing and amazingly tasting food. Compared here to Colorado, which it's gotten a lot better here the past few years here in Colorado. I admit it. But, yeah, I kind of shut up about arguing about Colorado food being good and being better than a lot of places. Because once you experience those places, kind of get out, actually know what you're talking about, you can do that. You can change your mind. You can actually make an informed decision like that. But the Colorado Mexican food, I've always argued it, that why would we not have fantastic Mexican food when there are so many Mexican people here? It really doesn't make any sense to me. Just because we put green chili on everything doesn't mean that that's not Mexican food. Or you can still have Mexican food, an authentic Mexican food, and then dump some green chili on top of it, and then it's still authentic just with green chili on top. Colorado style. It's like the snow outside. Coating the ground with loveliness. Just like Colorado green chili. I'm telling you. All right, next story. Marijuana Startups Incubator Gateway fires up. Marijuana Startup Incubator Gateway fires up. By the way, this company's saying that the first people to do this, which I highly doubt they're the first people to do this. It's just whoever gets first to the headline is the first person that gets credit for it. People should be focused on business, not hanging out and getting high, insists Carter Laren, co-founder of Marijuana Startup Funder and Incubator Gateway, which launched today in Oakland, California. But even if you're stoned, you should be able to see the opportunity here. Marijuana prohibition is coming to an end, and a massive business will grow in its place. Well, first of all, I can kind of point you in the direction of a few people who have nailed on the stoner lifestyle and had said things like, people should be focused on business, not hanging out and getting high, that have killed their business because of that stupid statement that they've made. Dissing on the stoner crowd, you don't shit where you eat. I mean, I thought everybody knew that. And specifically, especially for people coming outside the industry in, it's something that you really it's the first step to success in this industry is not to shit on the people that you're coming into on. I mean, oh, jeez. Lazy Stoner, the other one that has gotten some people into trouble. Anyway, this year, Gateway will back 2 classes of 10 cannabis startups with $30,000 each, plus 5 months of office space in exchange for 6% of their equity. The cash comes from LA's Marijuana Investment Corporation, known as MJIC, will fund further rounds for top performers after Gateway demo days. Applications in the form of 4-minute videos opened today for the first class starting in 2016. So you got to make a 4-minute video, and they'll accept you into their class possibly. As for the kinds of companies who will apply, the head of the company expects a deluge of X for cannabis and the Uber of cannabis. There also might be, whatever that means, there also might be pharmaceutical plays exploring cannabidiol. While THC has psychoactive effects, CBD is the more medicinal. Anxiety, this guy just doesn't know a whole lot of what he's talking about. He just read off of the Wikipedia for marijuana, and that's what he's going off of, and that's his press release. It's straightforward. If it's not in the Wikipedia, then I'm not going with it. Can't listen to you. You would think companies in this situation would hire professionals that have been in the industry for tens of years, 30 years, possibly some of them. I mean, I'd rather go with a person like that or a person that's been in it for, or at least this industry, for the past 10, 15 years. It makes no sense to have somebody in your company that's not running the media releases and talking as the face of your company unless you just want to get smacked down. That's just the first way that you're going to fail in this industry, is not knowing what you're talking about and shitting on the customer base and the people that you can hire to succeed in this industry. It's one of those industries that if you don't have those type of people in play, even if they know business, even if they've succeeded at everything else that they've done, you still don't know the culture, don't know those ins and outs, dot the I, cross the T's, you stand a good chance of failing. Gateway won't shy away from companies that actually handle the plant itself, distribution services, cannabis quality testing, or extraction of the fun-time chemicals. Are all options for the incubator. They'll get space in the quirky Leviathan building in Oakland, a hotbed of marijuana innovation that's home to Oaksterdam, a school for marijuana dispensary owners. Why would startups give up 6% of their equity to Gateway? For general startup training, but also access to industry-specific help like navigating regulation and securing permits. MJIC is already helping portfolio companies like Meadow, a delivery service, Willie Nelson's Willie's Reserve. Well, that explains a lot for that one. MyDX, a chemical analyzer, and Anti-Dolores, I should say, is an edible company. Canna Funder, also an equity crowdfunding company, and New Frontier Data Analysis. Gateway will be handing out 1% of its 6% stake in each company to mentors ranging from experienced marijuana entrepreneurs to successful tech founders like CEO of Rotten Tomatoes and Prism Skylabs. Another way to bastardize the industry. Laren and fellow Gateway founder Ben Larson will bring their knowledge from working at the 100 City Founder Institute. A lot of the rest of this is just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Insider talk, as they would say. I don't think there's anything else in here. Oh, yeah. Legal weed expected to be a $15 billion market by 2020, they say in this article. Gateway wants to be one of the kingpins of pot, they say. First, you got to get to know your industry before you jump into it. Head first. News stories, next one. Arizona Supreme Court rules on medical marijuana DUI case. Medical marijuana users a user card is not enough to get out of jail free card. Let's start this over because that was horrible. Maybe my eyes are getting bad on me, or that I just get too stoned before the show and I can't open them large enough to see this small print on some of these news stories. A medical marijuana user's card is not a get-out-of-jail-free card if you're charged with DUI in Arizona, but it can be used as a defense at trial, the Arizona Supreme Court ruled today. It comes down to conflicting Arizona state statutes. The Arizona Medical Marijuana Act, which was passed as a citizens' initiative in 2010, says that licensed medical marijuana users cannot be prosecuted for marijuana use if they stay within the parameters of the statute. But state laws on driving under the influence forbid driving while impaired by marijuana, which extends even to the presence of metabolites in the bloodstream. As we talked about many, many, many times before, you don't even necessarily have to be high to be able to get in trouble in these situations. And DUI laws don't even have the science to prove if you are really high at the time or if you're impaired, quote unquote. I should say, we don't have science to prove that you're impaired. To directly point it at, 0.5 nanograms per milliliter is enough for this person and this person and this person and everyone who gets high for them to be too high to operate a vehicle. Well, we've seen tests before where it's a regular user who uses cannabis daily, sometimes they can quit for 12, 13 hours at a time, come back and be blood tested, and that shit's like 13 nanograms per milliliter. Not 0.5, but 13, and they haven't even smoked for 12 hours. And I don't know about you, but if I had a strain that lasted for 12, 13 hours long, we'd have a brand new studio by now and a lot cooler shit to play with. Because we'd be rich. Who wouldn't want to be like, I don't got nothing to do today, or I got a ton to do today. Let me flip the switch on this 12-hour strain here. Oh, man, this is going to be great for the next 12 hours. No, I wish. Save a lot of money that way. It'd be awesome. It comes down to complete. We already read that. Arizona laws. In the case before the Arizona Supreme Court, 2 persons were convicted of DUI in Arizona municipal courts. Most DUIs are misdemeanor charges and therefore tried in municipal courts or justice courts in Arizona. The defenders were not allowed to use their medical marijuana cards as a defense, so they appealed first to the Maricopa County Supreme Court and then to the Arizona Court of Appeals, both of which affirmed the municipal court verdicts. In Friday's opinion, authored by Chief Justice Scott Bales, the court ruled that marijuana card did not grant immunity, but Bales wrote the patient may establish an affirmative defense such as a charge by showing that his or her use was authorized by the AMMA. There's a big catch, though. The defendant has to prove by a preponderance, that's a big word, by a preponderance of the evidence that a metabolite was at a level that no longer caused impairment, and as the defendants said in their argument, there is no commonly accepted threshold for identifying such concentrations. Well, there's not unless you do a specific study on each individual person. You get that person super, super high. You test their levels right after they get high. See what those levels are. See where they're at. And this is even saying that people that are super, super, super high can't drive. Some people may not be able to drive. There's a lot of tests out there that are coming out and saying that even if you have smoked, it doesn't show any difference than somebody who hasn't smoked, and then in the same test, somebody that's drank is 1,000 times worse of a driver than a non-smoker or a smoker. I'm not saying that at any point in time you should drive a 2,000-pound missile under the impairment, but holy crap moly, here in Colorado, if it were to be like drunk driving, we would see it. I mean, just driving down the highway in a traffic jam on I-25, or along Santa Fe, or along Broadsterdam, having your window down, you're going to smell some sort of burning smoke coming at you. Especially probably when you're stuck on I-25 in the middle of rush hour, which is insane here. And I don't care if you're from Boston, I don't care if you're LA. This is insane traffic here. Rush hour, nuts. Colorado Boulevard, nuts. I-25, nuts. Stay away from them. People, nuts. Especially when you put them in a situation of trying to get to their weed. And then you're stuck in a traffic jam. I mean, I'd be super savage angry too. And that's why a lot of people bring their greens with them. See the smoke coming out of the window? It could be cigarette smoke, but more than likely here in Colorado, it's someone smoking a doobie. Not the first time the court ruled on the question. However, in 2014, the justices ruled that to equate the mere presence of metabolites to impairment was absurd, and the ruling mentioned the possibility of a legal marijuana user under AMMA who would be prosecuted for the presence of metabolites in his or her body, essentially setting the stage for Friday's opinion. The ruling did not help the defendants in question. However, the court ruled that they did not offer any evidence to show that the concentration of drugs in their system was insufficient to cause impairment. Their conviction was upheld. This sounds like they got a bad lawyer. Here in Colorado, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots. If you get yourself a good lawyer and you're charged with the DUI and it has to do with smoking cannabis, there's a good chance you can get rid of that. There's a good chance that you won't be, because it's not right. It's really not right. I can understand if it were a situation to where you're putting people in danger, but scientifically, which is why it was rejected so many times here in Colorado, DUI for cannabis, because there is no science. There's no specific way that they can write a law other than doing a study on an individual person that if cannabis is impairing you enough to drive, and saying 0.5 nanograms or more, even if you have cannabis in your system, period, end of story, metabolites that are showing that you're not high, even if you have that, we're still going to prosecute you. That's just, it's not right. And I can understand how people wouldn't want people to be driving under the influence, but it's not right to create a law that prosecutes people unjustly. Period, end of story, no matter how scared you are about a situation. And that was thrown through by the governor. When we had legalization here in Colorado, that was the one thing that he said, you got to shove this through. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is what we're doing. Even though it had been defeated 4 times before and knocked down in the Senate, Congress, meetings, hearings, didn't even make it to an actual vote in the state legislature. I mean, when something like that happens and it's defeated time and time and time again, you obviously have the will of the people behind it. You obviously have people, legislators, that are behind it, not being put into play. But then you have your governor that comes in and just slams it right through. So unfortunately, we're dealing with that situation. So it's up to you to stay informed on how you can beat that and to protect yourself. All right. Last story we got here, I think. How many more do we have? We got a couple more. We'll go quick through them. The smell near Columbia Heights Metro Station Wednesday in Washington, D.C. was unmistakable. A lit joint in hand, Tony Lee stood outside a residence talking with friends as a typical evening bustle passed by them, no one paying the group of men any special attention. The community I'm in, he says, everyone engages in smoking. Lee, a 34-year-old district resident who runs his own small construction firm. Plus, he said if he's not smoking, he smells the remnants of other people getting high throughout the city on a daily basis anyway. I've grown accustomed to it, he said. The cavalier attitude towards marijuana and the distinctive waft that accompanies it seems to be the new norm in D.C. in the year since the city voted to legalize possession of small amounts of pot. According to a new Washington Post poll, 57% of district residents say they smell marijuana at least once a month. And of these residents, 45%... All right, let's fast forward that one. Fast forward this one, too. That's a horrible bed right there. I got to go through these beds a little bit better and organize them into folders, but that would take organization. It would take time for me to put them in folders. And can I do that? I just don't know. According to, as we said, Washington Post poll, 57% have smelled it. 45% said the once illicit drug doesn't bother them at all, and 17% said it doesn't bother them too much. Fewer than 4 in 10 responders say they are irked by at least in some way by the smell. This prevalent and very public perfume may be the new feature of the nation's capital, but these statistics are just building on residents' long support of laxer marijuana laws. In November of 2014, get this, so high in Washington, D.C., the highest legalization and the highest medical marijuana numbers, approval numbers at the polls. People actually voting for this. 70% of D.C. residents voted in favor of Initiative 71, a ballot initiative that legalized the growing and possessing of marijuana. Initiative 71 went into effect February, and since then, support of the law hasn't lost any steam. 69% of residents still support the law, according to the poll. The numbers most notably break down along generational lines. Only 41% of residents, 65 and older, support legalization, but the number jumps to 64% among 40 to 64-year-olds and 82% among those younger than 40. There's also a gap between the rate at which black and white residents support the new law. The poll found that 79% of white people were still in favor of the law, and 60% of black people were in favor of it. But while lagging behind white residents, support among black D.C. residents has grown rapidly in recent years. In 2010, a Post poll found that just 37% were in favor of legalization. And that's frustrating because that number has a lot of fear probably going into it. So they see how their family and their friends have been affected by the drug war, how they've gone to prison more so than white Americans, and they're not going to want you to be a part of it. So obviously they're going to tell you, we can't have anything to do with that. We can't have anything to do with legalization. And it's extremely misguided, but it's probably fear-driven, which is understandable. I mean, you would be in a situation where you feared for your family and anybody who's come from where you've come from. Say you come from inner city type of situation to where you're kept down by the system, by a criminal justice system not allowing you to get out of the cycle that you're in, or whatever it is. I can understand the fear that those people would have and being misguided when it comes down to drugs. Because here's the thing. They've seen the drug war fail at the very base level. They've seen it fail at the most violent areas. They've seen it fail with their kids dealing drugs, their kids being a part of that system to where gangs have formed, all this other crazy shit. And the drug war has created that system. Doing away with the drug war, doing away with the prohibition on marijuana, possibly the prohibition on some other drugs, helps do away with that system, reorganizing the criminal justice system and sentencing, not having those people get stuck in that wave that they get stuck in, being pushed back time and time again. Restructuring, legalization, reform, all going to help change to move those people out of those areas to better their lives and form better decisions instead of having to be lied to or influenced by the police, influenced by the criminal justice system, legislators who see a problem and are taking the wrong steps to fix that problem, aka the drug war, being hard on the drug war, not fixing sentencing. This persistent support for the law is similar to what played out in Colorado, where 55% of voters legalized in 2012. Since then, support for the law has remained steady. In fact, a recent poll that I've seen pushed that up past 60%, which is awesome, because you hear a lot of people that are really pissed about the laws here in Colorado and talk about, I wouldn't have voted for this if I knew this was what was coming, which is understandable. I can see how you would say that, but more people saying that, okay, this is working out, this is fine, I approve. Continues to be a hot button issue for under 40 voter group and any politician that discounts the influence of the generation in the future. Of this generation, the future won't be in politics for very long. This article, long-ass article, anyway, goes to talk about how numbers are necessarily just in D.C. that we're seeing these numbers change. It's all over the United States, and it's all over the world. And support for cannabis reform rising up through the roof. And as we mentioned yesterday with the audio from the great representative from Oregon and him talking about how the DEA head needs to go and using the situation where the DEA is opinions forward when it comes down to the drug war, saying this has failed. And the only joke around here is the joke of how the DEA has gone about continuing the drug war and making it worse. It's fantastically refreshing to hear that be said. And have someone that you put into office, someone that's fighting for your rights or supposed to be fighting for your rights. So many times we see people like that and we get frustrated because we don't see them doing what the will of the people is. We may see them doing what the will of the corporation is or what politics push them to do, and it may not necessarily be the right thing, but to see and hear somebody like that fighting for your rights, to know that what you're doing in each individual state is pushing it on a federal level to make things better. It's great. It's fantastic. Super refreshing. Probably some of the most refreshing thing that you can see on the news today. If it's not talking about ISIS, it's fantastic in my opinion. All right, last story here. This one kind of a ridiculous story. State rejects Thanksgiving Day baskets. Earlier this month, a group of women in Oregon who are part of a marijuana industry group came up with a plan to donate baskets to complete with turkeys and the fixings for a Thanksgiving Day meal for 20 needy families in Eugene, Oregon. The group, women leaders in cannabis, turned to the Oregon Department of Human Services, hoping the agency would get the baskets to families. At first, an agency employee based in the Eugene office welcomed the gift, said Lindsay Jacobson, founder of the group. But a few days later, the state reversed course, saying staff was spending too much time making arrangements for the gift. The real reason, as Jacobson suspected, was the gift's connection to cannabis. It was related to the fact that it was marijuana-related business and the discomfort by the DHS office that it would give the appearance of some kind of endorsement is why they didn't accept it. It's absolutely ridiculous. Evans said the agency has sought advice from the Oregon Department of Administrative Services on how to respond to offers from cannabis-related enterprises, given that Oregon is in a transition phase when it comes to the drug. What transition phase? It's been legalized, and even so, if it wasn't legal, these people are trying to help. They're trying to give food to you, to give to homeless people. I mean, what agenda? I mean, maybe they're trying to do the good thing, but there's a lot of groups out there that could learn from these cannabis groups. And how is it bad to have an agenda that wants to do good things for good people and make yourself look good? I mean, that's shame on you if that's your only agenda in why you're doing good things or why you would give food as a group to a homeless shelter. But seriously, and like I said, we've dealt with this before here in Colorado. It's something that a few groups, I think Mile High Normal ran into, where they tried to donate to a food bank, and the food bank didn't accept. And as I said, I think it's changed over the past couple of years. Possibly, here's one thing. When you drive around here in Colorado, a lot of the roads, you have roads that are adopted, and that group pays to have people go pick up trash on the roads or whatever it is. Usually it's not the group that goes out to pick up the trash on the roads, I don't think. It's just you pay a fee to adopt that road. It goes to cleaning up that road or something like that. Anyway, dispensaries here in Colorado have adopted quite a bit of those. So that's a way that we've tried to make ourselves look good here in Colorado. And nobody really rejected that idea. Maybe at first. Let's see. He said many families the agency deals with are severely affected by drug and alcohol abuse. As a result, the agency would also turn away donations sponsored by Jack Daniels or Absolute Vodka. He added that the state referred Jacobson's group to the organization that might welcome the offer. All right, so that makes a little bit of sense, but really, not really. I mean, do you really have to tell the people who are getting the food, like you're handing someone a can of chicken broth, and you formally have to say, yo, that was donated by Jack Daniels. That chicken broth on your turkey this year, or on your chicken, in your chicken soup, that's courtesy of Jack Daniels right there for you. I mean, no. You never know who donated the food that you're getting when you go to a food bank. You just know that you're getting it from a certain food bank. It's a ridiculous political way to dance around being an asshat. Still, Jacobson, who's part of the women's cannabis group, said the rejection hurt. It just weighed on the soul a little bit, she said. Jacobson's group is not alone in getting pushback when it comes to charity. Matt Price, who owns a chain of 3 dispensaries called Cannabis, said he tried to donate cash to 2 groups, a special needs camp and a cancer fundraiser, only to be rejected due to his marijuana connections. I understand that not everybody is accepting of what we do for a living, said Price, but I feel like denying charitable help and not allowing somebody to help somebody else isn't a good way to go about things. It's not like we're passing out cannabis to somebody, he said. We're just trying to help out our local community. Not everyone has a problem accepting gifts from the cannabis community. During the holidays last year, Price and other marijuana businesses filled a flatbed truck and a car with $4,000 worth of toys for kids for the Children's Hospital. A hospital happily accepted the gifts, said Price. We told them that we did it for a living. We told them what we did for a living. They were really happy that we contributed. They were really kind and treated us with a lot of respect, and we're thankful that somebody went and did something like this. Cannabis industry representatives said making donations, volunteering time, and raising money for organizations are a part of being responsible business. Liam Maurer, marijuana activist in Portland, said such efforts are part of the industry's efforts to normalize marijuana into everyday life. Come to a place like dang old Colorado, and it's like it's rare to find someone that dang old doesn't smoke. You be like, hey man, you smoke? Cigarettes? Nah. Bingo, you're my new best friend. That's how you can tell if somebody smokes weed here in Colorado. Hey, you smoke cigarettes? Nah. Good, let's go back here to the back patio, and I got a bowl to load up for you. Do you dab? Oh, no, that's just too strong for me. Now you do hear a lot. That you do hear a lot, all right? Still a lot of flower smokers. Randy Philbrick, who directs the Oregon chapter of Smart Approaches to Marijuana, a national group opposed to marijuana legalization, sees charitable donations by cannabis groups as a push for mainstream acceptance. He says, like the douchebag he is, it looks like they're trying to buy their way into the community to try and buy acceptance. Jacobson, whose group has been turned away from helping with the coat drive, said volunteering at a school-based garden in Eugene, said after some research, she found a local group willing to accept the food baskets. The group works with families of autistic children. On Sunday, the group will meet to assemble the baskets, which will come with the tablecloths and recipes. Food will be delivered to families on Monday and Tuesday. Jacobson said from the women's group, finally we have found a company that is able and willing and happy to have us working with them. It's a relief. I mean, here's the deal, too. It's something that maybe people don't think about is maybe some people do good around this time of year because they really feel like shit. Maybe it's a depressing time for them in whatever reason or whatever way that it's depressing to them for. And their way of giving back and their way of feeling a little bit better is giving back. Donating food, donating funds, volunteering during this time of year. I mean, we're some funny animals. We're some funny damn mammals. God dang monkeys. You know what you get when you cross a monkey and a giraffe? Because a monkey humped a giraffe and got it on with her, and then the giraffe had a baby? You call that thing a dang old monk-a-giraffe. Some stupid joke I think I made up like in middle school. Yeah, that was a middle school joke. And it stuck with me for years. I used to tell an ex-girlfriend that I was with for a long time that joke. Quite a bit. And it was just so stupid and silly that it made her laugh. So maybe it made you laugh. It made me laugh. That's all that matters at this point, right? I'm kidding. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the JDR. JDR News Live, Monday through Friday. Check us out, youtube.com/JohnDoe.radio/live is where you can catch us. The videos are there on YouTube. They've been archived, so you can watch any of those that you would like, or, which I prefer a little bit more, seeing as how it's just this cam on the laptop pointing at me and listening to things audio still. I prefer looking at this still like a radio show, even though the more cameras, the more upgrades we're doing here, and the new studio that we get, it'd be fantastic. I'm not saying I hate on the camera angles if you could do it right. But I prefer that you go to johndoerad.io and listen to our shows there. If you get a chance and you've got an Apple device, an iPhone, or a Mac, something like that, head to iTunes, subscribe to us on iTunes. You can get your shiz downloaded that way. Plus, you already use iTunes, so why not to get it there? Or if you got an Android, whatever device that you'd like to get our show, you can go to johndoerad.io and get it there. Subscribe to the RSS feed. Easy access to lots of shiz there. If you'd like to get back to us here on the John Doe, well, not get back to us. If you'd like to help us or give us any suggestions, holler at me, johndoeradio@gmail.com. Big thanks to the sponsors that make JDR possible, besides you, the JDR Army. Weedbiz.net, holler at them, weedbiz.net. They can get you those grow pods, or they got fantastic news on their site. Your graphics on Facebook, URGRAFIX. Tell Jessica that the JDR sent you, and she'll take care of you. If you need to get a website done, or if you need some advertising created for you, some images, whatever it is, holler at her. Tell her the JDR sent you. And last but not least, JDR News Live Daily, brought to you by USACannabisConsulting.com. Your choice for consultants, your one-stop shop spot. USACannabisConsulting.com. It's going to be a fantastic weekend. You know why? Because I said that's why. So make it so. And have a great, stony, fantastic weekend. If you drink, make sure that you get that shit taken care of in a responsible way. And if you get high, well, get even higher. If you think that you're done and that last hit did it, well, you should take another one. Because I said so. Get in this voice right now, so we just continue the show until I get damn tired of it. I'm already tired of it. I already shut your ass off. I'm Tim Martin, JDR. Tell me to meet again on Monday. See ya.
programming is not limited to information on agriculture subjects and is intended as an informational and entertainment purposes only. We specifically include responsible marijuana reform.
Listening to anyone but your mother is just plain stupid.
We accept no responsibility for your actions or misrepresentations, and we do not fully endorse the use of illegal drugs. You are ultimately responsible for yourself.
Live.